Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram. Let's begin today by chanting a few verses of the Gita Dhyanam. Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrita Varshini Bhagavati Ashtadashaധ്യായിനി Amba Tvamanusandathami Bhagavad Gite Bhavatveshini Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Vindayata Patranetra Yena Tvaya Bharatataillapurnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamritaduhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavo Dugdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru Krishnam Vande Jagadguru Hari Om. Okay, warm welcome to everybody. It has been a pause over the summer where we've not studied chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Even I had to go back and check where we left off. We left off at verse 10, 11 there.
Ibji, are you recording it?
And yes, it's recording. Yeah. And what is going on here? What has begun in this chapter? Well, the chapter begins now. We'll just go quickly verse by verse. There are different speakers, if you want to say, in Bhagavad Gita, right? Of course, Lord Krishna is speaking to Arjuna directly on the battlefield. And that is being penned down by Vyasa, Bhagavan Veda Vyasa, who was there present at the time. Also, it is being re-narrated by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra way back at the palace. And that narration is happening on the 10th day of the war after Bhishma Pitamaha has fallen on the Kaurava side, which they did not expect. That was a real turning point in the war against the Kauravas. So now you have how many listeners now? Think. let's count. Dhritarashtra, 1. Arjuna, 2. Vedavyasa, 3. And there's a fourth and a fifth listener also. Hanumanji is sitting on the flag of Arjuna's chariot. So there's your fourth listener. And then all of us will make number 5. Right? So this is the conversation going on in the various, little tiny bit of the backdrop. The whole story will make more sense, shine more brightly with Mahabharata. And recently, Jinaji did Mahabharata Yajna for 14 nights. It's up there on YouTube. But where we're picking up now is Dhritarashtra asks a question to Sanjaya, his minister, who was present at the battle and has come back now to the palace, and who had Divya Drishti, means he could, a divine eye given by Veda Vyasa himself, to see all that was going on the battlefield and to see into the mind and intent of the various different individuals. Which you and I might, hearing this for the first time, think, well, that is a little unimaginable, how someone could have that type of drishti. But in the light of current technology, where you can actually see the firings going on in the brain and all that, it is not totally unimaginable for us to understand what is going on in people's minds. So there's sambhav, and there are different possibilities in this universe, and when we study scriptures, you find out about those possibilities. So that is how it is supposed to be taken. Oh, this is another possibility that is out there in this universe, right? That type of openness of mind comes to a person maybe who has reflected a little bit about the absolute grandeur and infinite ongoings of this cosmos. It is really amazing to see all the things that are going on at a macroscopic scale. It is also a great miracle that a lump of earth has gotten up and can walk and talk and think and have problems. In other words, you and I. A clump of earth is walking and talking and moving. And once the jiva is gone, it goes back to becoming a clump of earth in no time. So that is an amazing thing or not? So when you see that type of thing and you reflect, your mind becomes open to new possibilities. So this is no great feat for Sanjaya to have that Divya Drishti. Dhritarashtra in verse 1 of Bhagavad Gita asks Sanjaya, tell me what happened to my people and the Pandavas on the battlefield. And Sanjaya responds that he goes on to tell a little bit of what was happening there on the battlefield. So what did he tell him? That he begins with the side of Duryodhana. So there are two sides lined up on the battlefield. One has like over 2 million warriors, and the other has far less. One has, it is 11 battalions, Akshauhanis, and the other has 7. Like, the numbers come out to 2.2 million warriors versus like something like 1.5 million warriors. So totally outnumbered. And because of so many of the great warriors on the Kauravas side, you could very well argue outmatched also. Because Bhishma is there, Dronacharya is there, Kripacharya is there. So you have some tremendous warriors who really cannot be defeated, have not been and cannot be defeated. Bhishma himself can choose his time of death. He cannot die unless he wants to. Like that. So outmatched and outnumbered, if you just look at the it on paper, right? So put the spotlight now on Duryodhana, and Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Vachanam Abravit. What did he say? Duryodhana, seeing the Pandavas, he said a whole bunch of things. And then later on we'll see Arjuna seeing the Kauravas, he said a whole bunch of things, right? So what is happening there is you're getting an idea of how different sides of this world view each other. How you can, different ways to look at the world. And this is not just the world. You're looking at your obstacle. You're looking at your challenge. You're looking at your, in our simple life, we don't have a big war to fight. You're looking at your daily schedule. You're looking at your vision board. And with what eyes do you see it? And therefore, how do you react and think and all of that? That is actually what is going on. Otherwise, it is a historical thing that Duryodhana said this and Arjuna said that. But we are studying it from as a scripture for our own benefit. So we have to see, do I look like at the world like Duryodhana sometimes? And the answer is yes. And what exactly is it? And you'll get to understand the psychology and the impacts of different drishtis or darshanas, ways of looking at the world, right? Then, what did he say in verses 4 to 6 now? He starts looking at their power. Look at all the great warriors. Maheshvasaha, great archers are there. All equivalent to the greatest of them, Bhima and Arjuna in battle. And he starts identifying specific people who are really tremendous. King Virat, Satyaki, who is not beatable in battle. King Drupada, he notices. All of them are Maharatha, and we talked about that. Great commanders. They can command a whole hundreds of thousands of soldiers. And he goes on listing so many great warriors. So he's counting the power of that side. Having done all of that, what happens then? In verse 7, Asmakam. He starts thinking about among us now. Who do we have? And there was a comment made by him. I jumped past that, but let me just highlight that. When he's speaking, he's not speaking to himself. Sometimes we do that in front of the mirror or in the car or whatever. He's actually here, he addresses Dronacharya. So he starts speaking to Dronacharya. And the way he speaks to him is very indicative, again, of his vision. First of all, Dronacharya is his guru. He taught him warfare. And so he's talking up to his guru. But his words are talking down. That, first of all, tells you what's in his mind. He's condescending in his tone. And he says, look on that side. Look your Shishya over there. Means you went and trained somebody and now that person has come to fight you, how good you are. Like that he's talking to his guru. Then he also says, and look also, there is the son of Drupada. Drupada and Dronacharya have a big beef, as they say, going back. There's a whole story there. They hate each other. So he is trying to inspire his leaders through hate. He's trying to whip them up through channeling. He's trying to channel all their negative emotions for his purpose, right? And when he sees anger and hate from his leaders towards the enemy, then he feels more confident. Because what does he count? He counts things he can see. So if I can see your loyalty, and I can see you praise me, and I can see you actually hate this person, and I can see lots of numbers and great warriors, now I feel confident. That is how he calculates his success. But he's also very shrewd. So the moment he realizes that it might backfire to speak down to the guru, when he starts now counting his warriors, first he says, and the greatest among us is you. Who are the great warriors on our side? First, he lists Dronacharya. He's trying to make up for it, because really the greatest on their side is Bhishma. And if you're going to make a list, Bhishma is far and away the greatest. But he switches it. First we have you, oh, best among Brahmanas. Then we have Bhishma and all that. So he's trying to play both sides. Whatever works, he's going to use to get you to do his bidding. This is Duryodhana. After counting his own warriors and saying, they have all come here and they have given up their lives for me. Tyakta jivitaha madarthe, for my own benefit. After saying like that, then his mind starts to tremble. But that word is very indicative that here you have a leader who is concerned about his own welfare. He's not concerned about the welfare of his army. He is, in his own mind, consider them already dead. Right? We talked about this last time. That is called toxic leadership. We ended with this idea last time, that a person who's in a leadership position, by example, by words, in thought, word, and deed, has to live for the benefit of others. And we are all right now in some leadership position. As a parent, as a grandparent, as a Balvihar teacher, on a team, in some way, shape, or form. Even if you're just walking down the street and you see a bottle and you bend down and pick it up and put it in the bin, people are watching. They think, oh man, people still do that? People still pick up litter? You know, and you're going to work, and in one hand you have your briefcase, and in your other hand you have like 3 garbage bottles. People will look and say, are those his bottles, or did he pick them up off the how? And that leaves an impression in people's minds. Your behavior. So at all times you're in a leadership position. That was my main point, which will come in Bhagavad Gita itself. And when in that position, that person has to be concerned about the welfare of others. But Duryodhana is looking at people and counting, what can he do for me? What can she do for me? What can I get out of this one? What can I get out of that one? Right? Now, this is not for us to judge others. This is for us to judge ourselves. This is our Duryodhana. Well, I don't want to say our. This is the Duryodhana. Right? So then, to cheer himself up now, he starts thinking about how strong we are. Again, he starts recounting his numbers. And he actually says, look, our side is aparyaptam. Our side is, one meaning of that, invincible. You can't measure our strength. And their side is, you can see it. You can see the limits of their strength. Paryaptam. So he's boasting about his strength to himself and to his leader. Right? A chest pounding is going on before the war. Look how you're so good. No, you're so good. No, you're... This is not afterwards. This is before. He's celebrating before. Why? Now, this is very interesting. The rishis read between the lines and they see in Duryodhana's mind, fear has arisen. Why has fear arisen? Because, and I remember when our Acharya pointed this out, all human beings deep down have a great respect for Bhagavan, for a higher power. And knowing that he is on the side of unrighteousness, call it his conscience or some aspect of his intellect, recognizes that he has a fatal weakness. So fear has come into his mind. And last time we pointed out one nice statement that where there is lack of Shraddha, Shankha enters. Where there is lack of faith, confusion and doubt enter the mind. As opposed to when there is faith, then courage enters the mind. Our faith should be born of thinking. That statement is also true for knowledge. When there is knowledge, there's no doubt, there's confidence. And then knowledge is also born of thinking. So he's not thought very well about whether or not he will be victorious. And what is the real path to victory? So there is doubt in his mind. The doubt is revealed by the very fact that he has to boost himself and tell his own leaders how strong they are. I have to say that because sometimes people question, maybe you're just reading into it. Nowhere here does it say that he was afraid. But if we don't know how to read between the lines of human behavior, of situations in life, properly, then actually we miss the whole most obvious and important lessons, correct or not? Being able to read between the lines in a story or in a happening of life is essential. And here, the ideas and abstract principles are being demonstrated. So our job is to look at life situations or look into history and see the principles at play. Okay. So this is how it feels to be on the side of adharma. Then he makes a statement now. Oh, and in this regard, I wanted to mention one other thing. We also very much count our numbers as opposed to count our spirituality. There's a nice phrase, don't tell Bhagavan how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big your Bhagavan is, right? So that phrase actually plays out in life quite a bit when we think. So you can take it as a superiority thing or an inferiority thing, right? If you feel like I'm too unfit or ill-prepared to make progress on the spiritual path, look at Vibhishana, brother of the greatest Rakshasa. Well, he was not fit. He was a Rakshasa in body also. If you feel like I'm too far away, and you are too far to go, I remember mentioning this last time, you just look at Sudama. He could not walk to meet Krishna. The distance was too far and he was too frail. But he found himself there after sitting to take a rest. So that applies to not having you're feeling too far away in distance, you feel too far away in time, like that. If you feel life's situation has outmatched you because of your own weakness, like Jatayu when he faces Ravana, he's outmatched or not? He's totally outmatched. But he gets moksha, everybody's going to remember him, and his side is going to win, and Ravana is going to just end up in the dustbin of history. One more wicked person who tried and failed. So even if you're outmatched and lose also, Hanumanji, he himself says, if anybody sees my face in the morning, they are not going to get food that day. He feels he's so ugly as a monkey. But when we look at Hanumanji, what do we see? So you could take literally a monkey face, and the whole world can look at it as the most beautiful and shining face, especially Lord Ram. So when you count numbers, or time, or beauty, or degrees, or whatever it might be, you and I were not counting the right measurement. The KPI is wrong, as they say. But this is what the world is doing. This is what Duryodhana is doing. And like this, he's trying to figure out, am I going to be effective? And those of us who are trying to meditate, many of us, I cannot do it. My mind is too fickle. And the scriptures go on telling, take dhrida vrataha, firm vows, and wake up early, and do this other thing, and do that other thing, and fast, and I cannot do it. Bhagavan Ram beat his army of fickle-minded monkeys, conquered Ravana's army, which defeated Devatas. Monkeys who get distracted every 2 seconds. They were able to fight in formations and win. All of this is to say that the real measure of success coming through here is signaled by the presence of Bhagavan. That is the message. His mere presence alone, without contributing to the fight, without doing anything, his presence. And his presence comes in the form of his name also. If you have a bunch of lusty or sad or angry or regretful thoughts, and you accompany all those millions of thoughts with the name of Ram, his presence alone has turned the tide. So faith accompanying his presence is going to make all the difference. Right? So this is the principle displayed very much on the stage of history. Then, in verse 11 now, where we left it off, Duryodhana himself catches himself expressing a little bit of weakness. By trying to say, we're so great, we're so much better than them, we're so good. He catches his own nervousness, and then to try and overcome it now, he takes command. He starts giving instructions, right? So, what does he say? Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yatha bhagamavasthitaah Shri Krishna sharanam mama Shri Krishna sharanam mama Bhishmamevabhirakshanto bhavanta sarva eva hi Shri Krishna sharanam mama Shri Krishna sharanam mama Shri Krishna sharanam mama Shri Krishna sharanam mama. He says, all you soldiers that are there, wherever you are stationed in your respective commandments and roles, right? Whoever you are commanding, you all make sure to protect Bhishma. That means to say, finally, his Shraddha is in Bhishma. Because Bhishma can choose when he can die. Bhishma cannot die. So as long as he is able to fight, we will win. So this is his instruction to all the soldiers. Whatever you might be doing, let it be that you always protect Bhishma. Now, Bhishma Pitamaha has made a mortal mistake by choosing the side of the Kauravas. He will not survive this battle. Right? Who is the one being that is invincible? No, that is easy. All the Bhavihar kids will say, Bhagavan is invincible. Right? That's an easy one. But in life, do we remember when you see the president or the prime minister or this rich person come? You think, oh, of course you should give your due respect and all that. But they're not anything like invincible. So one should not feel a great amount of joy that, okay, well, we have the president on our side, we will win. It may not turn out that way. Avinashi tu tad vidhi yena sarvamidam tatam. Bhagavan will say in chapter 2 that I am Avinashi, means invincible, cannot be destroyed, the reality. So Duryodhana has faith in something that is mortal, and he has no faith in that which really is invincible. This is Duryodhana. And in that type of situation, like I said, fear creeps in. Doubt creeps in. Because finally you've rested all your personality, all your hopes and dreams, your whole emotional security on something that has cracks. Because of that reason. Now Bhishma himself, having just heard the commandment from Duryodhana, he recognizes that Duryodhana is a little scared. He's telling everybody to protect me. Why? Because everything is on me, and if I die, then he's totally... He doesn't have faith in his cause. He has faith in my Shakti. That's what he's thinking. So Bhishma now, he decides to do something. Because all the warriors they'll recognize, see what's going on. You know, when the soldiers or the army men or the sevaks sense that at the top there's some fracture, something must be done. So Bhishma, the great leader, what does he do? Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vridha pitamaha simhanadam vinadyochaihi shankham tatma pratapavan Shri Krishna sharanam mama Shri Krishna sharanam mama. So what does he do? Simhanadam vinadya, having let out a lion's roar. He roars. Then loudly, Shankam dadmau, he blows his shanka. And for those who recently have heard, you know, when you go to puja and you hear the shank, no matter what you're doing, it gathers all your attention, you know? And on a battlefield where everybody's, you know, you can imagine all the things are clamoring, clinking and all that, everybody's looking at each other, some people are hearing Duryodhana talking to Dronacharya, then the shank is blown. From who? Bhishma, right? Which Bhishma? Pratapavan. That Bhishma whose glory has spread everywhere. He's totally glorious and powerful. And who also is the eldest of the Kurus. Meaning to say, this now side has the sanction of the wisest or the most respected of the Kurus, and who is also Pitamaha, the grandfather of all the Kauravas. He blows the conch, right? So the idea is to recreate and ignite what? Why did he do it? Sanjayan Harsham. He was trying to bring joy and elation and inspiration in the heart of Tasyat means Duryodhana. In Duryodhana, right? But there's so many other points that are shared here. Who shot the first bullet? Who is the aggressor in the war? As a result of blowing this conch, it is Bhishma. The Kauravas started the war. They are the aggressors. And that is even to today a measure of who's on the side of right and who's on the side of wrong. You could line up all your warriors at the edge of a border by a country. But who attacks who first indicates who is the aggressor and who is the defender. Correct or not? And many Bharatiyas are very happy to pronounce that Bharat has never invaded another country. They have never attacked another country. And this goes way back, this idea that the aggressor is on the side of adharma. The defender is on the side of dharma. Because the Pandavas didn't want war. Lord Krishna is not pushing for war. His side, the side of Lord Krishna, by his own actions, is pushing for peace. How many times Lord Krishna has approached the Kauravas in a friendly manner to settle this war, to avoid war. And his side means the side of the Pandavas were always ready to relent, to give up, to sacrifice. One house with 5 rooms they asked for. And what was the response? Not as much land that can fit on the tip of a pinhead. So the Kauravas are not going to relent. So you have, in that type of situation, you get war. Correct or not? This sounds like something straight out of some news story from today, about one of the 4 or 5 different global wars that are going on right now. Will this side accept that side of thing? And then if they don't, they will go and fight. Correct or not? So this is not any old thing. That is also another point. Human civilization has been fighting in wars against each other since forever. Since forever means what? It means that what we take out of this is it is a part of nature for there to be fighting. And this type of fighting also, where there is killing and shooting and all of that. Sometimes people say, no, it is because of Kali Yuga. In Satyuga, everybody was sattvic and truthful and joyous. But 5 of the 10 Mukhya avatars come in Satyuga. So it is true that even where there is ashram-like people, there also there will be, you can get a Hiranyakashipu or a Mahabali, right? Who will come? It's very possible. That's human nature. It is part of life, and the world turns only because of it. It's part of the process. There's nothing in it that is abnormal. This is the idea. The idea is an acceptance, not of the tragedy and the sorrow that ensues from war, but that war is very much part of the human experience. Like that. These type of things, when you really think about them, that even though we're living in our country, safe countries, wherever you might be, if you give some thought to it, we are also participants in that war. We fall on one side. We fund one side. We are not disconnected from what is going on in the rest of human civilization. And because it's part of nature, it is part of samsara, and we are all connected to this. And there's no way out for you and I also, except mukti. We can psychologically create separation, so we don't. That's what we do. We create some fake separation. Oh, that is their war. But they're human beings. And we buy all the goods from them, or this, that. Some history, some connection is there. We are connected to that. We are involved in several wars at this present moment. So we have peace and war at the same time. So this is the world we live in. That is the kind of idea that the rishis are bringing forward, right? So the takeaway message is that if there has to be fight, the dharmic people always seem to act the same way. They are ready to defend and fight if they have to, but they are not going to promote an escalation. They're not going to fire the first shot. They're not going to escalate. They're not going to cause harm. But they're going to stand and defend, no problem. So, because this plays out all the time in movies, because the dharmic people are so easy to read. You know their play. They're not going to fight. They're not going to shoot. You know what people do? There are all kind of tricks. They go onto your side, and they send a shot from your side to their side. Their own people go on your side. And like you go over to your neighbor's house and you take some litter and you throw it on your side. Then you come back on your side and say, oh, you started it. And now you get a chance to slam them with the lawsuit and whatever, what you were planning to do. That also happens all the time. Some people think also, look, they have such great weapons. One day that neighbor is going to attack me, so I better preemptively attack. That's another thought that is out there. But those who preemptively attack, they always seem to lose. The other point that is nice here is that Really, Bhishma Pitamaha is not the grandfather of the Kauravas or the Pandavas, right? He has no children. So how will he be their grandfather? But though he is brother to the eldest brother to their parents, they call him grandfather. And it carries great respect. I know many people who have cousins and they call them brothers and sisters, right? Or people whose they have like 6 grandparents or 8 grandparents, and they all are grandparents to them just as much as anybody else. That is a unique feature of Hindu culture, and it's just shining out right here. Pitamaha blew the conch. Now, in verse 13, then what happens? Let us chant 13 through to 16. Tata shankascha bheryascha vanavannaka gomukha sahasaivaabhyahanyanta sashabdastu mulo bhavata tata shvetairhayaryukte mahati syandane sthitau madhava pandavaschaiva divyau shankha pradatmutu matuhu. Manjajanyam Hrishikeshaha Devadattam Dhananjaya Paundram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhima Karma Vrikodaraha Ananda Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakula Sahadevascha Sukoshamani Pushpakau Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Okay. Tataha, then what happens after Bhishma blows? All those who are standing there ready to play, but they went ahead and let loose the little drums and big drums and trumpets, gomukha. No, what is it? Yeah, literally the horn of a cow. I mean trumpets. Then, how did that sound? The sound boomed in the air, right? It was a terrible sound. You can imagine if you have gone to a stadium for some sports day or something and everybody cheers at the same time. The biggest stadium they have is like 60,000 people or something like that. And everybody just cheering with their voice. 2.2 million people roaring, plus whole bands of trumpets, and how it must sound, right? The earth, what they say the sky and the air rented with the sound. It's like the air was bending with as much sound as there was, right? Like that it sounded, so loud. So when the other side makes that sound, then what will happen on this side now? Tataha. Then now the spotlight shifts. Sanjaya shifts the spotlight over to the Pandava side, right? And he starts telling Dhritarashtra about who, about what. He says, Shvetaihi yukte mahati syandane sthitau. The two of them standing there Where? In a chariot, a great chariot yoked to white horses. Who's standing? Madhava, Pandavaschaiva. There stands Lord Krishna. And the first name you called for Lord Krishna in this whole Bhagavad Gita is Madhava and Pandava. Divyau Shankau Pradadmatuhu. And the two of them blew their shankas. So that picture, they always paint that picture of both of them blowing their shank. It's like that they took this line and they tried to put it out, right? They both blew their divine conches, right? That this has so much in it symbolically, right? First of all, the chariot metaphor, which comes from Kathopanishad, Lord Krishna made it so that he could demonstrate that very metaphor. Kathopanishad says the chariot is your body. So our bodies are a vehicle. They're supposed to take us somewhere. They have a purpose. They're not supposed to take us to the drive-thru and to the fridge, and from the fridge to the couch, and from the couch to the bed, and then from the bed to the phone, and from the phone, to the light show, and that's not what this vehicle is meant to go. It means to say, our bodies and mind and intellect were not designed for sensuous, cheap thrills. It was not designed for that. What was it designed for? The scriptures tell us, designed for the being used to help other people. Parahita, other beings. It was designed to think about what I'm experiencing and recognize the presence of the Lord. This body is designed for those two things. It's made for it. So it is a chariot, and it has to make a journey. And it's designed, that journey is along the path of selfless work towards the destination of realization. And on the chariot, or who's pulling the chariot? 4 white horses, representing our 5 senses. Because one of our 5 senses has 2 on it. The tongue has touch and taste. So really you end up with 4 horses. Because one horse has 2. So maybe he's the lead horse. Actually, he's the lead horse, the most powerful one, because the tongue, whatever it wants, the whole chariot follows. If it wants to tell a secret, and it's hard to hold on to the secret is coming out. If it wants to tell what great things you did, you're going to tell it. If you want to taste something, it's going to go taste something. The tongue is pulling us. But like that, all the other senses also. Here, in this case, they are white. White always represents purity. It means to say, those horses are going to follow on the divine path. They're going to lead me correctly. They're going to be reliable engines on this journey. It is driven by none other than Lord Krishna, who is supposed to be Jnanavan Sarthi, the wise charioteer in the form of our intellect. And who is the experiencer? Who is the passenger? That is us, the jiva. So the conscience that speaks to us in every moment is very much taken as, a divine voice in life. The conscience, which has been properly samskarized and taught scriptures and knows what is right and wrong and has great faith, that is none other than a Bhagavan manifesting for all of us, guiding us, supporting us, whispering to us. Gurudev always talks like that, Bhagavan is whispering to you to follow on the right path. Literally, very much so as the driver of the chariot, the sattvic intellect. But we don't necessarily always listen. We say, shut up. Now is rest time. Close the laptop. Put up your feet and whatever, right? Oh, intellect. But it is there, it doesn't leave. So that is the chariot standing there, and you can tell by the very description Sanjaya loves the Pandavas. He's not only going to describe the chariot and the horses, and he's going to name each one of the conches that were blown. Each one has a name, he's going to name them. He means he makes sure it gets recorded there in history. The names of the conches also. So he spends a bit more time talking about the response from the Pandavas, which if this side's going to blow their conches, now in response, Dharma is going to blow its conch now. Like that. Then, Madhava word means what? The Ma means Devi, and the Dva means Pati. So Devi, Lakshmi, Pati, Lord Vishnu. So Madhava is a name of Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu's conch, it's told there in the next verse that we chanted, is Pancha Janyam. It has a name. And it symbolizes, when Lord Vishnu, Shankha, Chakra, Padma, Gadha, when he blows his Shankh, what all it represents. That is what he actually blew his Shankh here. Right? And it has a lot of symbolism. By the name also you can tell it has something to do with 5. There's actual conch you can find with 5 fingers on it. That's called a Pancha Janyam Shankh. And those 5 sticking out fingers on the Shankh represent the 5s that we have in this universe. There are 5 elements. From that you have got 5 senses and 5 pranas, right? All that 5, when you study Tattvabodha, has manifest from what? From Hiranyagarbha, from Maya. And it is blown life into by who? None other than Bhagavan. So as long as you're hearing that Shankh blown, you know that there is a being behind it which is blowing life into it. Correct or not? And in the same way, as long as you see a world manifest with 5 elements, that should indicate to you there's a presence of the reality behind, which is enlivening all things. Manifesting from Maya, everything. So like that, there's a Vedantic symbolism. But it also very much means that when Bhagavan blows his Shankh, he has signaled now there's a new order. He has brought back order to everything. There's a change in the tide. Victory has been announced. Auspiciousness has been announced. Purity is about to spread over all things, like that. Dharma is being communicated and spread. Fearlessness is is resounding. Wickedness is going to scurry away. All this comes when Bhagavan blows his Shankh, like that. Because in puja, the blowing of the Shankh is a purificatory step, right? So from that also you get this. So at once you get the idea of a cosmic manifestation happening, dharma happening, purification happening. All this is symbolized when Lord Krishna blows his Shankh. So, in other words, when he turns the spotlight onto the Pandavas, you start seeing all the auspicious signs. He calls Madhava's name. He mentions the pure white horses. He tells that Lord Krishna himself blew his Shankh. He tells the name of the Shankh. He spends time on each one of the Pandava brothers. So Arjuna's Shank is called Devadatta. It's given by the Devatas. Recently I realized that many of our names are like this Sanskrit word. Like the name Harda or Harde, which is popular here in the Caribbean, means Haradatta, given by Lord Shiva. Right? Baste means Vasudev. So like that, there are many. One naming of people and things in our tradition is a big part. It's very much there. In Trinidad, I think I'm seeing faces of people who have gone. And many of you might have ridden in Swamiji's jeeps that he takes into the mountains. They're all named also. The naming of things is very important. As opposed to naming, the next generation is naming people as Bob, David, Peter, like that. Because maybe the appreciation of the significance of it is gone. I heard Peterson, Stevenson, Davidson means son of Peter, son of Stephen, son of David. So it has something to do with their own tradition. And great names like Panchajanyam and Devadatta, and you will see the other great names that are there. In Trinidad, the big one is called the Beast. And the little one, a little bit less than that, is called Grizzly. And the small one is called Chipmunk. The Jeeps. Naming is a big part of our tradition, and we shouldn't lose that, because nobody else has names like Sanatana Dharma. They have their own great quality names, but ours are very special. It's a wonderful thing to keep going. Then, what is told there, we chanted. Bhagavan lists everybody. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha. Yudhishthiraha, who is Raja, King Yudhishthira, Sanjaya says. He's telling us to King Dhritarashtra. In a war that is currently ensuing and the king has not yet been, the future king has not been decided. What does he say? Oh, King Yudhishthira. Right? He blew his shank, Ananta Vijayam, the one that has endless victories. Nakula blew his shank. Sahadev blew his shank, which are called Sughosha and Mani Pushpakau respectively. Sughosha means a good announcement. And Mani Pushpakau means like a bejeweled flower. I missed one. Boundram Dadmau. Bhima blew his. Mahashankam. Of course, Bhima will have a big shank. It probably, if you see it, it looks like a prop, but it's really a shank. He blew his. Which Bhima? He puts two different adjectives. Bhima Karma. He who is done really frightening things. Means he's so strong, and when he fights in such a terrible way, like you rip open the enemy and drink his blood. Like that kind of warrior he is. Right? That terrible Bhima blew his shank. He's also called Vrikodaraha, wolf-bellied. I bet this is the first time you've ever heard that word. Like, pot belly. And in this part of the country, there's something called dal belly. It means the same thing. But I don't know if you ever heard wolf-bellied. It means he can digest anything. A wolf never says, oh, no, I'm gluten-free. I'm off rabbits. I get allergy to rabbits. Wolf will eat anything. So he has that digestive power. That Bhima, he blew his shank. And our time elapsed so fast. Today we saw a recap of about 10 verses, and we covered up into verse 16. Yes, verse 15. Verse 16. All right, so we say closing prayer, and if anybody has any comments or anything like that, we can chat. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. Hari Om.